Hey, welcome to 49ers After Dark. We're your host, Grant Cohn, Jessie Naylor. I got a Wi-Fi extender in my office, so hopefully it works. Because yesterday was a debacle, and I paid $130 for this. So just to be like, man, you went up on this. So, okay, day one of camp, it's in the books. I was there. Jessie's going to ask me some questions. You guys are free to ask me some questions, starting with the biggest. Well, you go ahead. You take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah. I got a bunch of them here for you. So I also went ahead and pulled Twitter as well. So I got some of them from there, some
Sweet.
popular ones that came through. So hopefully I cover for you guys in the chat well also. But here we go. For me, one of the questions that I really want to know is, and this could be anything, Grant. You've been there for 2 days now. This could be a way that a question was answered. This could be a unit, a player, anything. But what is the biggest surprise so far that you've encountered?
Well, the biggest surprise of the day for me was on the offensive line. Spencer Burford starting at right guard. I didn't see that coming. He was not the starting right guard in minicamp and OTAs. Brunskill. No, excuse me. Brunskill's been out. He had some type of injury. He was rehabbing from some type of offseason cleanup surgery. They didn't make it seem like it was a big deal, but he was not the starting right guard today. Spencer Burford was. He just turned 22. And you know what Brunskill was doing? He was Jake Brendel's backup. Actually, I don't even know how to pronounce Jake Brendel's name because Kyle Shanahan said Jake Brendel the other day. So I think no one really knows how to pronounce his name. That's a bad sign. Anyway, Brunskill's his backup, at least for today.
Maybe
Spencer
the biggest surprise is how to say his name. That's what
Jake
it sounds like
Brendel.
to me. Where was Donovan West around at all? Where was he
Yeah,
at?
I mean, he's around. He's playing with Brock Purdy like he should be. He's an undrafted free agent. They haven't vaulted him up the depth chart yet, but they have with this rookie. I mean, this is the rookie to sort of watch for. Like Ty Davis Price, we all expect he's going to be a major contributor right now, but he's playing with third stringers, which is fine. I mean, there's no rush with a rookie. When a rookie all of a sudden is starting on day one of camp, you're like, fourth round pick? What did he do? And it's not so much maybe him, but also like what else they have at the position. I just thought Daniel Brunskill was like maybe entrenched there. And if they were going to move him to center, they'd move him there to start. But Brunskill's like, maybe he's just like they're easing him back into action. And right now, maybe that's it. But right now, it looks like Spencer Burford is the right guard.
See, this was a concern of mine, right? Like everybody talked about Banks, this is his first year starting, Brendel, all those things. And while yes, there is some shakeups, it's a little bit of a concern. To me, the biggest concern is that I felt like the 49ers really feel like they have a lot of players and they've got to figure out who actually is going to be their starters. I feel like they're throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing what sticks, and then they're going to take the best players at each position. But what happens to the continuity? How do they protect Trey Lance? Continuity along the offensive line is a very, very big thing. How are they going to gain that during this short session before they start a season? That's concerning.
They won't. But and it's interesting. It's like they're trying to evaluate and project with these unknown offensive linemen in practices with no pads. So they think they like things about Spencer Burford. They haven't even seen him in pads yet. But I can see what they like about him. I mean, just looking at him, he looks like he could play guard or offensive tackle. He looks really athletic, which is not something you see a lot in the NFL at offensive line. The athletes are on the defensive line most of the time. And when you see them in the one-on-one drills, which they haven't done yet, the disparity is eye-popping. And it's like, at least this guy looks really athletic. He's got really long arms. And I'm looking at right guard, Spencer Burford, rookie, looks impressive. Then you look at left guard, Aaron Banks, and you're like, I don't know. So, I mean, it's a little early to draw any conclusions, but I can see what they see in Burford, and just looking at them side by side, I like Burford.
That's interesting that you say that because that was literally what I was going to ask you as a follow up: is who looked more impressive. That's
Burford
interesting. That's
just
very
looks like a
interesting.
better athlete. But I mean, football is part athleticism, part toughness, right? And you can't show that in these practices without pads. So we'll see what Burford's made of, but we'll also see what Banks is made of. Biggest surprise day one is this 20. He turned 22 last week. I think he's the youngest player in the team. And
That's wild.
he might be starting.
That's absolutely crazy. Definitely a curveball there on day one. All right. Well, let's
Real
move
quick,
on
hold
to.
on. See, Charlie says, "Hey Grant, feel free to refer the Jimmy stands as Jimmy Jerkers." I don't get it.
I don't either.
Like 2009 jerking in LA.
You're a
Like doing
jerk.
their Dougie? Did you do your 4 hours of independent study?
He has all week, Gammon. I know
Yeah,
it's built into Grant's contract as well, but he has all week to finish it.
bear with me. Jay Sports Enthusiast says, Grant, fix the right side, cornrows on the right side of your head. Reminds me of Malibu's Most Wanted. Represent. Love the show, man. Keep killing it. Malibu's Most Wanted was a underrated movie. Funny movie. Thank you. That Niner guy says Burford was a 4-star recruit, went to UTSA to stay home, close to home, played right guard, right tackle, and left tackle, had really good tape against Power 5 team. Dude's a player. It seems like it. It looks like he's going to be a starter, and he might be their best guard.
Showed up early.
Wow. Look curious says, hey, Iggy, little cash to pay for that new streaming gear. Fight the urge to spend it on another one of those sweet Niner jackets. Jesse, I'm missing those sweet purple shades. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Listen,
purple shades.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I actually lost those purple shades when my family was in town, man. I lost them on the river, so they're not coming back.
The river is just where your shades go to die.
Yeah.
C. Turley says Panthers beat writer Sheena Quick said Debo's deal is being announced soon for $70 million guaranteed. Sweet. $70 million. Wow. Nice. Good for him.
That's interesting. Okay, great.
Let's go. Hopefully it happens during the show so we can talk about it.
Yeah, that would be fantastic for sure.
All right. Next topic.
All right. So most impressive. Now, this could be a player, this could be a unit, but just short glimpse. Who was the most impressive today in your eyes?
The outside corners. Travarius Ward and Emanuel Mosley. They gave up a combined total of 0 catches today. And it was like Trey's smart. He tested him a couple of times, was like, no, this isn't happening. I'm not going to do this today. I want to have a good completion percentage today. I'm going to do what I have to do. So first pass of the day, Trey goes at Mosley. And it's Jawan Jennings playing outside, running an out, quick out to the right. Excuse me, I think it's to the left. I'm seeing it in my mind. It's to the left. No, it's to the right. Sorry, it's to the right. I'm behind the play. Trey's over here to the right. Trey throws a little bit of a wobbler. It comes out. It's usually his first throw is a little bit of a duck, and Mosley just smothers it. Second one, he is throwing to Mack, whoever 81 is. Mack falls down. The ball really hits Mosley in the chest, and Mosley should have intercepted it. And he said it afterward. Lance, I don't think I've ever seen him test Travarius Ward. Maybe once. He seems like he knows, he can see the matchups. So anyway, those two corners, I'm not used to the Niners just shutting down the outside. I'm used to Jimmy Garoppolo shutting down the outside of the field by not throwing out there. But right now, Trey Lance is like, maybe when Debo comes back.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, multiple, right? Like, he doesn't have his offensive line. He doesn't have Debo. Take it easy. Ease in, kid. Ease in. No reason to rush it. But that's great. That's great news. Let me ask you this, because I feel like training camp, at least early on, defenses seem to show out early. And it takes a while for offenses to catch up. Maybe that's a myth that I've created in my mind, but that's the way that I remember it going down in most training camps. Is the defenses are usually ahead of the offense. Is that fair to say normally?
Usually like as a unit, holistically. But I'm just talking one-on-one. And what I saw today was corners who are getting the better wide receivers. Now, Debo's not out there. But again, I remember, and I want to bring this back to Brandon Ayuk because I'm skeptical of him. Okay. When he was a rookie, he would go head-to-head in that little brief mini training camp during COVID against Jason Verrett and do well, win. He was explosive as a rookie, was he not?
No, he was very explosive.
No, he can't beat Emanuel Mosley. He can't beat Travarius Ward. When he wins, it's like usually against the second team, and he's not winning down the field. He's become almost like a possession receiver. It's a little straight. Now, again, it's very early, but I'm still a little bit like, what happened to I miss the old Ayuk. I don't know what happened, man. He's like now a possession receiver.
You got to wonder, like, how much of what happened last year played in his psyche, because I do feel like he just had that dog in him, right? Where he didn't know what to expect. He came in the league, he competed, his heart kind of showed through. Confident. And I feel like it's kind of just dissipated over time. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's the feeling I don't know what
it is, but I feel like he dominated practices as a rookie, and he hasn't the last two years. And he had 4 catches today. 3 were against the second team. 3 were with Sudfeld. 1 was with Trey. It was a 5-yard catch. We keep hearing about this connection that they have and how they're going to be going deep and stuff. It's like, I haven't seen Ayuk go deep in a minute. So prove me wrong on that one, Brandon, because you know who does go deep? Danny Gray. He's hella fast. And if Ayuk's not getting down the field, then Danny Gray's going to get some opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll say this. I think Brandon Ayuk still has all the skills. I think he's going to break out regardless. I really do. I like Brandon Ayuk a lot, so we'll see.
I do too. I just hold him to a high standard because I've seen him do it. Official BNA Music 88 says, keep me updated on Silver's takes. I'm blocked, LOL. I don't really feel like following anymore, unfortunately. I used to.
A lot of people are blocked by Silver. I made it through the cut, I'll tell you.
It's just, I don't know. Big Tim 3 says, love the new Shanny this year already. Seemed hindered by Jimmy, and he's excited about this year with the kid. Also love how he broke down BA's situation. He did finally shed light on Brandon Ayuk's situation and said that Brandon Ayuk essentially didn't understand what it took to be a pro because he had so much success early on during the pandemic when there was like no structure.
He really took control of the situation yesterday. I remember when they were having the press conference, they asked about Debo and Lynch started to answer the question. It was almost like Shanahan just reached over and put his hand on his chest. Was like, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Shanahan was very forthcoming with what's going on in every situation. You got to love it.
Did you know that? Hold on real quick. Ashley says, KP from Niners Nation said that Trey was really inaccurate today. Is that something to worry about or just one day jitters? He was 9 of 11. See, to me, this is sorry, KP. This is a guy trying to get his stuff read. I mean, dude, he missed a throw. Like, yeah, okay. He's 9 of 11, though. How do you say he's really inaccurate? This is what I don't understand. Like, when people say, like, people are worried about, like Mike Silver will say that, sometimes his accuracy is inconsistent. So what do you mean? So you're saying he like missed some throws? Like every quarterback misses some throws. What are you talking about? I'll give you the stats. He completed, what is 9 of 11? What is that, like 80%?
Yeah, it's pretty high.
He did miss 2. One was a wobbler and one a guy fell down. I don't know. I don't understand that. Like, how do you say inaccurate? Like, are you saying
okay,
ball placement was off?
Let me play devil's advocate for just a second. Yeah, that's exactly it. Ball placement. Because
like,
accuracy isn't necessarily completion percentage, but do you feel like not only was his completion percentage high, but did it seem like he was putting the ball where it should go? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, hold on. Yeah. I'd love to know which play he's talking about. I'm sorry. I just feel like someone was trying to be different.
That's fair.
Sorry.
That's totally fair. All right.
You'd have to be look, if you're gonna say a guy was inaccurate after going 9 for 11,
you gotta be specific.
You better fucking explain how and why. Don't just say it. He was 9 for 11, but he put this ball here when it should have been here, or he put this ball. He got us. Now maybe he did. I didn't read it. I think I read Niners Nation. That's my competitor. You kidding me? I'm not giving him one click. I'm petty. All right, let's keep moving on.
All right. So you gave us most impressive. The opposite of that is least impressive. Who was the least impressive today for you? Seems like you might have a long list here. You can go with a couple if you want, Grant. It is your show.
There's one guy.
Okay.
And I went with most impressive was the starting corners. Least impressive, the backup corner. Ambry Thomas. What happened? Now, it's funny, like he really started off poorly. Well, I'll say what he did today. He got smoked by Ayuk twice, and then he gave up like a 50-yard touchdown. It was either a 50-yard catch or, a 50-yard catch and run for a touchdown to Malik Turner. And what's crazy is like Ambry Thomas had him. He's in perfect position, perfect coverage, stride for stride. He just jumped too early. Can you picture that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Times it, misses it. Yeah. And then Malik Turner jumps and catches it. It's like, and that's my issue with Ambry. Like when he was getting roasted last year and then he would make some strides and do better, people would be like, well, he's in perfect position. He's right there. Yeah. But that's only part of the job. The other part is, how are you at the catch point? And to me, that's what separates first-round picks from third-round picks. There's a lot of good athletes who can run with wide receivers, but can you also do something with the ball at the catch point? And if he could, he would have been a first-round pick running a 4.3 at 6'1" like that. But I don't think he can. He couldn't much last year. He had that pick week 18 on that underthrown ball from Matthew Stafford. But today, he just got whooped by Malik Turner. And it's disappointing. And it's like, you can't you can't depend on a corner who gives up big plays like that. And it's a good thing they got Charvarius Ward because they don't even test that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Charvarius Ward is obviously a great addition, but when you talk about a player like an Ambry Thomas going up against a guy like Turner, Turner's been in the league for a while, right? He knows how to keep his body right. He knows exactly what the competition level is at this point in the season, and he knows how to prepare for that. He also knows that he's fighting for a spot on this team. Ambry Thomas probably is not in that same situation, and being his second year, he's just not prepared, right? As prepared as he should be. And so it'll be interesting to see when pads come on, they get through some preseason games just to see how maybe some of these guys like an Ambry Thomas progresses as they kind of learn the business, right? So I'm curious to see how. I'm rooting for Ambry Thomas. I think he showed a lot of flashes last year. To me, the improvement that he showed game by game, and I felt like people were picking out a play here and there where he got roasted by some really, really good players. But overall, if you watch every single snap, he looked pretty good in a lot of those games. So I hope he turns it around. I really do.
To me, I feel like I've been covering this team since 2011, and I feel like some things repeat themselves. To me, this is Chris Culliver again. Chris Culliver was a third-round pick. Chris Culliver was a hell of an athlete. 6 feet, 190, ran a 4.3, hell of an athlete. And he could really play press man coverage and mirror really good receivers around down the field. It's just when the ball got there, he didn't know where the hell it was. He couldn't find it with GPS. I mean, there was no way. And it's just at first, he looked like he was pretty good, but once he started getting burned down the field and it happened in the Super Bowl, you lost all your confidence. It was over. So that's the problem with Ambry. Like, how many more of these big plays is he going to give up before he goes into shell? Last year, he got more confidence as the year went on. This year, he's going to be on the bench. It's going to be, he won't be giving up big plays. So he just has to find the ball. You're right there. You're there. You're in better position than the wide receiver half the time. Just calm down. I don't know what to tell him, man. It seems like a tough trait to coach. Maybe you can.
And I'm interested to see how it plays out too, because I really felt like when they signed Charvarius Ward, that they had a plan of saying, hey, Mosley's probably not going to be here long term. We had him in a 2-year deal. Ambry Thomas, after this year, is going to be the guy opposite of Charvarius Ward. I think that's the plan. So hopefully they're able to use that and let that play out.
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say that maybe Emanuel Mosley might play his way into this team long term because he's good.
He's very good, but I think he might play his way out. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he really has been locked down. He's been locked down.
Like, honestly, man-to-man, one-on-one, him against Ayuk, that's not an advantage for the offense. I'm sorry.
Crazy.
Mosley's a good-ass player. Sorry.
Listen, Mosley was the guy last year. You probably don't remember, but when we were talking about guys that we really were excited about going into training camp last year, Mosley was the name that I gave. I said, you need to stop playing with Mosley because they were flirting with bringing in an old head, somebody like Sherman. And I was like, just give this man the job already. He's that good, and he's really shown it. He's extremely, extremely impressive.
His numbers were really good last year. It's just that he played like the softest coverage ever. It wasn't necessarily his fault. It's what D'Amico asked him to do halfway through the season. It's what he asked all the corners to do. This year, I think they're going to be much more aggressive. And if he can pull that off without committing a bunch of penalties, giving up big plays, and if he can intercept 2-3 passes, he's going to get the bag. So root for him.
I'm a Mosley fan.
Yep. Kenneth Ruoff says, love Grant after dark. Thank you. It's Niners after. It's Grant Jessie after dark. Although Jessie doesn't curse like me. Grant, do you think Jennings balls out for a contract this year? Thanks for being raw, man. Jennings interesting. I don't think he's going to get a ton of money. He is a slot receiver. He's not beating anyone outside. He's in that sense, he's a little bit more limited than even Kendrick Bourne. He's very specific to one role. So we'll see. I mean, if he catches 15 touchdown passes this year, maybe some team will overpay him, but I think he's a pretty limited player.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. You got to remember, Trey Lance isn't going to come in and start throwing the ball 40 times a game. That's just not what they're going to do this year. So I would be hard-pressed to find enough targets for him to really go out and break the bank next year.
Michael Mock says, sorry if I'm super out of touch on this, but on the topics of cornerbacks, is Verrett back? Back in the sense that he's on the roster, but he hasn't started practicing yet. I don't know if he'll ever practice again. We'll see. So far, my internet's doing pretty good, knock on wood.
Yeah, you just jinxed it. That's good. Look, you got blurry already.
All right, let's move on.
All right. A sleeper to look out for.
Well, I mentioned the guy earlier, but let's talk rookies. Like Drake Jackson, Ty Davis Price, everyone's expecting those guys to contribute. What about Spencer Burford? He's starting. What about Danny Gray? Now, Danny Gray, I wasn't real huge on him coming out. I thought he was a little bit of a one-trick pony. That being said, he's the only guy who does that trick on the Niners. Like, again, everyone's thinking Ayuk's the deep threat. He's a possession receiver, maybe a very good one, but that's his game now. Debo, yeah, he's a deep threat, but he's everything. He's everything. They need a true 4-3 deep threat with Trey Lance, and that's Danny Gray. Now, they haven't linked up for a deep touchdown yet, but it's early, and it's going to happen, I think. So Danny Gray, I think it's like all the wide receivers are kind of similar. He's different. All the running backs are kind of similar. Jermichael Hasty's different. Like, they're not the greatest, and there's a specific role for them, but like Jermichael Hasty too. I just want to say, no one thinks about Jermichael Hasty because he's an undrafted free agent, but I think Kyle really likes him, and he's the only third down back on the team. Every other running back is similar. Sermon, Wilson, Ty Davis Price, Mitchell. They're all 215, 220 guys who run hard. Right. Hasty's that scat back, and he's good. He's quick. I like Hasty. I'm a Hasty fan. I'm a Jermichael. Anyway, those guys. Don't sleep on Jermichael Hasty.
If it was up to Grant, Hasty and Dwelly would be starting on this team. Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it.
Get them some love. Didn't Danny Gray return some punts or kicks today as well?
He did. I meant to say that. So that's good.
That's interesting, right? Like I
interesting.
I don't remember him doing that in college. I could be mistaken, but I never heard of that in college. So, I mean, if a rookie's not ready to play, right, because there's some people ahead of him, and he's not out there for a lot of snaps, but he's a weapon and he's got speed, figure out a way to get the ball in his hands. That's a great way to do it. Kyle Shanahan cares about special teams this year, Grant. That much is very, very clear with the way that they went about the offseason. So maybe they're looking at Danny Gray and saying, hey, little early, right? Wide receivers do take some time to develop, but for you, we can get the ball in your hands, and here's how we're going to do it. That's an interesting spin on things that I didn't necessarily think about or expect.
Also, big Nate Sudfeld, 11 for 11 today. Good for Nate, because I'm going to be real hard on him when he has bad days. So I just want to point out that he was 11 for 11 today. He was just in the zone. We call it the Nate Sudfeld zone. And once you reach that zone, good job.
Is that like the Twilight Zone?
Kind of. Random Bob says Grant has a track record of prematurely declaring quarterback success based on scanty evidence. Remember when you declared Kyle Trask as Peyton Manning before drafted? Yeah, but that was just Twitter.
I like Kyle Trask too.
I like Kyle Trask. He reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning. Joshua White says, after watching QB drills today, I only have one question. Can we fire Rich Kangarello again? That drill that he was doing last year killed me, man. It was like, I've gone over it a million times, but I'm just glad to see that the new quarterback coaches ditched that and actually have a more pragmatic version where it's just like one shuffle and a quick check down. Like, yeah, that's exactly what you want to practice. Nice.
Absolutely.
Joshua Wyatt. Thank you. All right, moving on.
All right. So you talked a little bit about Hasty and even a little bit about Ty Davis Price, but there's a lot of running backs on this team, and they got to figure out at least one to cut. It's going to get interesting. So running back splits today. Who was getting the most looks? Who looked the best? Maybe who needs some improvement? How did you see the running backs playing out today?
Well, let's go through it. Let me go through my notes. It was a quick practice, so I'll give you every rep. And again, there's no tackling, so I'm not saying like how many yards they gained. I can tell you what direction they went and in what order they got the ball. So first play of practice was a handoff to Mitchell, who looks bigger.
Okay. Really?
He said he was coming back bigger. He's big. He looks 215. He looks like a guy who might be able to make it through a full season, which is big because he's their starter. So he gets the first two carries with the starters. Then the second team comes out. Guess who got the first carry with the second team? The second carry of the afternoon, of the morning. Guess.
Sermon.
No.
Hasty.
Yes. I likes Hasty.
Yeah.
Hasty, then Sermon, then Hasty again, and then with the third team, Ty Davis Price, which is not a reflection of what they think of him. It's just sort of like the day one rookie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then 7-on-7s, throw to Mitchell. Lance hits Mitchell. Sudfeld hits Mitchell. Onto the second page, only 2 pages. Lance hits use check. Mitchell stretched left with the first team. Second team, Sermon from the gun inside zone. Then we got Sudfeld throwing to Hasty on third down. Third team, you got Ty Davis Price, stretch right, fumbled it, fell on it. I don't want to nitpick too hard, but I saw it, Ty Davis Price. Then you got starters back, another toss to Mitchell. He was the starter today. Then with the second team, Ty Davis Price, stretch left. I thought he got 15 yards before anyone touched him. He looked good today, by the way. He runs really hard. Then with the third team, JaMychal Hasty. It was funny. I don't know. Jeff Wilson Jr. didn't get the ball today. I don't know what that was about. Something to monitor, but that's how it broke down. A lot of Sermon, a lot of Hasty, a lot of Ty Davis Price, and Mitchell as the unquestioned starter today.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because I think a lot of people, there's this narrative on Twitter that Mitchell is not really that good. And that a lot of his yards come from Shanahan drawing things up and scheming things up, and he doesn't get much above that. Also, I think that he's an underrated pass catcher. This is a guy who didn't drop a ball last year. I really thought going into the NFC Championship that the scheme really was going to be to get him and Debo in open space out of the backfield against those linebackers. Get some easy completions and move the chains that way. It never materialized, but I think he can catch the ball 50 plus times in a season. I really do. I think he's got good hands. I think he's a good route runner. And you said he caught a couple passes today. That's a very, very good thing to hear.
I actually think if you're going to throw a screen to a running back on this team, use check's a good option, but he's 31. I'd rather throw it to Mitchell. Yeah. I thought they didn't do that enough of that last year. I didn't think they threw to him enough. And what's interesting about him, he only played 11 games last year. He was the 8th leading rusher in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean,
it's crazy. He averaged 4.7 yards per carry.
Yep.
That's really good. I mean, there's guys ahead of him like Ezekiel Elliott doesn't do that. I'd rather have Elijah Mitchell than Ezekiel Elliott. I'd rather have Elijah Mitchell than Antonio Gibson. I'd probably rather have Elijah Mitchell than Najee Harris. I mean, Najee Harris breaks a lot of tackles, but he's a plotter. Mitchell's faster. I don't know. I think my only question with Mitchell is he does a lot of his work from when the quarterback's under center. I know that wasn't the case in college, but the splits he had last year from under center to shotgun were stark. Maybe it'll be different with Trey Lance at quarterback because there's going to be a lot of shotgun stuff with Trey Lance at quarterback.
I'm just curious to see who doesn't make this team. I mean, I think it's going to be a tough decision at running back, a really tough decision. And if you're right and Shanahan does like Hasty that much, I mean, he's the third down back. So who are they getting rid of? I mean, this could be a surprising name or two. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Trey Sermon looks good. He looked slow last year. From what I saw on tape, he looked kind of big and slow and out of shape last year. He wasn't the guy I saw at Ohio State. This year, he looks more like the guy I saw at Ohio State. He looks like he's in really good shape. So they're invested in him. If he looks improved, they'll keep him. And maybe they'll feel like, you know what? Jeff Wilson Jr. is a little redundant. We have Mitchell, Ty Davis Price, and Trey Sermon. Jeff Wilson Jr. is nice, but he gets hurt, and he's been hurt, and he's a little less gifted. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the odd man out. He didn't practice today. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
All right, we'll be talking next.
All right. So much like the running backs, I'm curious to see how the wide receivers shook out. Obviously, Debo was not participating. Sounds like Jennings was on the outside. So wide receiver wise, how did that look? If somebody goes down, how do you see them kind of making up for that? Who plays outside, who plays inside? Just what did you see from the wide receivers today?
So the way I saw it was no Debo. So the starters on the outside were Ayuk and Jennings. And the starting slot receiver was Ray McLeod.
Okay.
That's the way I saw it. Danny Gray was playing with the backups. Ayuk was playing with the backups a lot too. Then you also had 17, Malik Turner with the 50-yard catch. 81 who slipped in. He's not making the team. I don't know who that guy is. It was a quick practice, man. They didn't get many balls.
Okay, I'll say this. That's a little interesting because I feel like traditionally Shanahan likes a bigger slot receiver. So instead of keeping Jennings inside, he moved him outside and had Ray move inside. Now, it's just one practice. I don't want to draw a lot of conclusions from that. But if Debo gets hurt or Ayuk gets hurt throughout the season, is that what they're going to do?
Yeah, and that's a problem because Juwan Jennings isn't beating any starting cornerback in the NFL on the outside. Or maybe some, but not any like decent one. Nothing against Juwan Jennings, but
you were like I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah, you're a slot receiver, and maybe a good one. But I think the idea is to have a platoon of the big slot and the gadget little slot. That makes sense, and that's what they have with Ray and Juwan. It's just to your point. If Ayuk or Debo misses time, Danny Gray better be ready, and he better be a complete receiver.
Yes,
yeah, not one trick pony stuff like the whole route tree, everything. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That's exactly where my mind went. Is like, man, maybe Danny Gray needs to be ready quicker than they would hope for.
He didn't get any targets today, and usually that would make me raise an eyebrow. But I did see him run right by me, uncovered deep, while Nate Sudfeld checked down in the flat. So we'll see. Nate Sudfeld also hit a 50-yard throw. So I'm not saying Nate Sudfeld's too cautious. He just missed him that one time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
You got any more? Or do you? I got one more question, but do you have any super chats you want to run through?
No, I think it's just a bunch of like, oh yeah, hold on. Kenneth says, Grant, would you say we are good at the youth of Niner players? Because the Rams look like the Golden Girls right now. I see injuries every week. Yeah. I like some of the young players in the Niners. I do. I think Drake Jackson looks a little leaner than he did at minicamp, which is good because I was surprised. But yeah, I don't know.
Here's what I've heard you say, and I don't know. I mean, you may not have picked up on it, but I remember when OTAs were ending, some of the guys that you had concerns about were those rookies. You talked about Drake Jackson being a little heavier than what you think he should play at. You talked about Ty Davis Price really kind of being in and out, not practicing, being hurt. You talked about, and Mason, remember, he came in and came on strong. So what does that mean for Ty Davis Price? And then you talked about Danny Gray, how it was disappointing that he had the hamstring injury. I've heard you say something good about each and every one of them, which shows that they took this time away from the team to really get ready for a training camp. And as rookies, that's really all you can ask for. Put yourself in a position to go out and compete. And it sounds like they've done that.
Right. I mean, because the rookies who start dominating from day one, usually like the future Hall of Famers. Yeah. So if you don't dominate day one, that's okay. You still might be a Hall of Famer or a very good player. It's just you're a rookie. Learn, improve. And it seems like these guys so far are. I mean, I didn't see Danny Gray get the ball yet, but we shall see what happens tomorrow. He's not calling his own plays. Maybe they'll feature him tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
We're 34 minutes in. And we've successfully gone without talking about one Trey Lance, which I know everybody is here for.
Hey, good for us.
Seriously, we deserve some credit for that because there's a lot going on right outside of Trey Lance. And I love talking about Trey Lance. We're definitely got to get to it now, but we're 34 minutes in. I think that's impressive. Trey Lance, you said 9 of 11 today. I heard that there was an interception. I didn't hear you talk about that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I heard that, and maybe it was somebody that misinterpreted something that was going on. But I heard that he threw a pick to Tariq Castro Fields. I don't know if that was like one-on-one drills. I don't know. Okay, so that didn't happen. That's good to hear. Okay, all right. I love the look.
Who said that?
It was a rumor going around on Twitter. So I don't know. I didn't know it was true. Okay, good. No. So he didn't throw a pick today. Was 9 of 11. Looked fairly accurate.
He should have thrown a pick. He hit Mosley in the chest, but that's because the receiver fell down with the ball in flight. If you throw the
not
ball,
his fault.
So it happens sometimes. No, I was not.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
But Trey Lance, I remember very early on, you're like, wow, this kid he could be the starter, right? He looks really good. But now that we're a year removed, try to put yourself in that headspace from last year, Grant. Seeing Trey Lance for the first time at this time of year, what are some noticeable differences, if any? I don't want you to make anything up, but Is there anything that you see from Trey Lance that you're like, yeah, this is definitely an improvement? Anything, physique, whatever.
I mean, we talked about in OTAs, it's like just doing everything faster.
Yeah.
That's obvious. But I mean, we talked about that already. I think the big thing with him is like last year, he was so pressing. He wanted to impress so bad. And it's like he was with the second team. He was only getting so many reps. It's almost like he was trying to do too much, or he just wasn't comfortable on the field. Like he felt he needed to sort of win the job every day. And
Yeah.
this year, I mean, there's none of that. You know, you're not going against Jimmy. It's your team. And he's not like if the first throw isn't there, he's not like holding it, waiting, you know, trying to create a bigger play. It's just like check it down. Throw it to the running back in the flat, move on, execute the offense. You can always do that. But you don't need to necessarily practice it all the time. You don't need to practice like hunting the big play, which I felt he might have been doing sometimes. I mean, I would if I was that gifted. Today was just a very modest first practice. You know, let's just get in and out. 9 of 11. Could have been 10 of 11. Frankly, he missed the first throw and hit the next 10. One guy dropped, slipped. Let's just good day one. Let's move on today. It was a very mature practice, I thought. Not particularly flashy at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it happened this early or if it happened more with pads, but I remember hearing a lot from you talking about Trey Lance buying time.
Right.
Like he wasn't seeing things right away and he would buy time, which may or may not end up as a sack. And, you know, if it was real football.
Correct.
Do you felt like he was more decisive and not worried about buying time? He just knew where to go with the football?
No question. And I think he understood, look, I mean, half the time Kittle's not out there. Debo's not out there. Trent Williams isn't out there. McGlinchey isn't out there. Got to be decisive here. Got to make it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's real football, but you got to be decisive here. And he was. He wasn't hunting the big play because, frankly, George Kittle and Debo weren't out there, and Trent Williams wasn't out there. So just execute. And I think last year what he was trying to show was, I'm the more exciting option. Jimmy's boring. You want me? And now what he's trying to show is, I can do the boring stuff. You already know I can do the exciting stuff, but hey, I can be boring. You want me to be boring? You miss Jimmy? I'm boring too. I can have a boring day. I'm just boring enough. So he can do it all. I think that's what's so cool about him. He's not a certain type of quarterback. It's all about having a very young, moldable ball of clay who can do everything. Why limit him? I like that.
And I think, you know, for me, that was one thing that I really noticed about Trey Lance is that he's actually more conservative than what people want to say his physical makeup is. Like, yes, he's got a big arm. Yes, he can run the ball, all of those things. He's actually a fairly conservative player. He's going to protect the football. Long term, I don't see a lot of interceptions from him. Maybe his rookie year, you're going to have some gaffes, but I think long term, he's not going to be a guy that's turning the ball over 15 plus times in a season. I just don't see that from him.
It's not in his nature. He's very disciplined in how he plays. If you want someone who is on the other end of the spectrum, it was Zach Wilson. At BYU, he would just run around in circles and do whatever he wanted. Trey was very disciplined. You know, we're going to win this game, and I'm going to, do as little as I have to do. I kind of prefer that style of football, but I mean, either one can work. Mike 209 says, Senior Pops tweet about Coach and his demeanor, lack of enthusiasm. What's your take on that? Coach seemed more forthcoming with info so far. I mean, I have to cover him every day. He definitely doesn't really like talking to us. He tries to pretend like he does, but he doesn't like it. Most coaches don't. But what I don't appreciate about him is sometimes he can have a Bill Belichick demeanor. And I don't like the way Bill Belichick talks to the press anyway, but it's sort of like he can sort of do it because he's Bill Belichick and he's won $1 million. Like, dude, you haven't won anything ever. So that kind of gets me. And just to talk specifically about how he talked yesterday, you know how he does when he gets in the chair and he's like leaning back like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the same time, he wanted to be there. And he spoke like he said 85%. He did 85% of the talking. So I think part of him is like a little defensive about the Trey Lance stuff and bitter that people don't just give him the benefit of the doubt like Belichick would get. And then he has to defend himself. But at the same time, he's doing all of his press conferences at 9:15 in the morning this year, which to me, right in the middle of rush hour, it's like you're really trying to make sure the riffraff doesn't come down. It's like just the 7 of us asking the questions every day. So it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he's a little doesn't want the questions this year, but
he's in mid-season form already is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm good. I also feel like I get the feeling from him that he's like last year, it really was, I don't want to say a make or break year, but they needed to have a winning season, right? That pressure is now off of him. And I also feel like he's got this low key swag about him that he knows something that nobody else knows, right?
Yes.
From the national media perspective. And he's
Yes.
like, you think you have it all figured out? Wait until I unleash Trey Lance on you. You have no clue what this is about to do to the league. I think he's got a little bit of that in him, and I like to see it.
That's the ultimate sense of confidence, right? When you feel like you have a
Yeah.
secret that no one else knows. That's kind of how Kyle acts most of the time.
Yeah.
He knows something.
Yeah.
Joshua White says the Niners are different when Juice and Kittle are on the field together. Are there any young guys who can fill those roles when those? No. Dwelly. He's the super backup. People said I missed super chats, which sorry. On the goal line, was Sermon with the second team? Yes, not the first. But again, he looks better. He looks way slimmer. Tony, I got you. I'll look through to see if I miss any more, but let's move on to the Debo finale.
Let's do the Debo finale.
So, okay, Debo Samuel hasn't been extended yet, didn't practice today. The Niners basically keep saying we're gonna have a happy ending soon. Obviously, they'd rather have him like in there every day. How much longer do you think this is gonna go on? When will they finally get him on the field with Trey Lance?
Yeah, so I got to be honest. I was really trying to speak it in existence for today, but my gut feeling tells me that they'll have him on the field day one of pads. I believe that. I think, let me also give the 49ers a little bit of credit here, right? I talk a lot about the human element and how that plays into things. I really respect that the 49ers have taken the stance that, hey, we're working on it. We're confident that a deal gets done quick enough to where he's not going to miss a ton of time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we're willing to let him do side work because we know that that's also what's best for the player here, right? And they don't have to do that. I mean, they really could play hardball here and say, you're practicing.
Yeah.
You're healthy. You passed a physical. You're doing what we want you to do. But they're not taking that stance. They're letting him work on the side, stay in shape, be around the team, but also, hey, you're trying to get paid here. We're not going to allow you to get injured. Not on our watch. And I think that has to be noted. And I definitely respect that stance. But what that stance also tells me is that they really are confident that a deal is going to get worked out very, very quickly.
Seems like it.
I would imagine. Yeah. I think day one of pads is Monday. I would expect.
No, day one of pads is, I believe, Friday.
Is it? I thought it was Monday.
I mean, I could be wrong, but the way it used to be was the first 2 days, no pads, and day 3 was the first day of pads. But the world's changing. You know, I'm an old guy. Okay. Back in my day, that's how they used to do it. But it's all different this day. I don't know. The way it used to be was day 3 was pads. Maybe it's day 5 now. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay.
It's going to be day off Sunday, and then back Monday. So I would think Monday at the freaking latest. Monday at the latest.
Okay. I'll say whenever day one's of pads is. If that's Friday, then that's Friday. If it's Monday, then it's Monday. So I'm going to go with that. Day one of pads. He'll be signed. Yep.
Marie says Danny Gray took punts and did end around. I didn't see the end around. And I chart every play. Don't believe any. I have the master. I have the spreadsheet. Seth Harvey says I meant Trey Sermon looks like he lost weight. I agree. I do. I missed a lot of these. Sorry, Seth. Elijah Mitchell is going to be the scat back. No, he looks like he's lost weight. No. He's put on 10 pounds of muscle. And I mean, they could use him as a 3-down back, but it seems like they want to have a committee, and they've always had a 3rd down back here. And they didn't use Mitchell that way last year. It was hasty the whole season, was it not? As the 3rd down back?
Oh yeah. No, it definitely was. Yeah.
It seems like they like him in that role, and they did not bring in anyone to challenge him for it. I think I got all of them. All right, two more. Hold on. Someone from Reese. Danny Gray took punts and ran a lot of ends. Hey, man. End runs. Okay. They also lined him up in the backfield. All right. Fans know better than me. I'll take your word for it. Maybe he ran end arounds and warm-ups. Did he get the ball in an end around in 11 on 11s? I don't think so. Teron Lewis says, great work, Grant. Thank you, Teron. I hope you come on Mariah and I'm in my show again. Keep providing this great content. Yeah, anytime. You're the greatest. You and Mariah are wonderful. I'd love to go on with you guys. Hit me up. All right, let's talk about the Jimmy finale.
Yeah,
So
let's
Jimmy
do it.
Garoppolo is still on the 49ers. And I asked Kyle Shanahan directly today. I said, is there a scenario where Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster week 1? And he said, I mean, I'm sure I could find a scenario for anything in life, but let's just say I'd be surprised, which is a fairly direct answer. Not fairly, it's a direct answer. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
So the way I'm reading this is they're not going to hold on to Jimmy into the trade deadline like I thought they might. They're not going to hold him hostage and try. They know there's no trade. They know there's no trade market for this guy. And so right now they're at the spot of, do we cut him now or do we cut him later? And maybe the nice thing to do would be to cut him now. But was it nice for Jimmy to have surgery and not tell the 49ers? Like, do they really owe him that? I mean, is it really the Niners' job to give the Seattle Seahawks their starting quarterback now? You know what I'm saying? Or because that could happen. You cut him and it's like, oh, we want to do right by Jimmy. And you want to do right by the Seattle Seahawks too? You face them week 2. So maybe if you're going to cut him, better to just wait so that whatever team he gets on, you might have to play them this year. He's less prepared, especially if you play him early in the season. I think that makes sense because it's not like you already missed the opportunity to use the freaking cap space. What's the difference between cutting him today and 3 weeks from now? You're not going to sign J.C. Treader. What's the big deal?
Yeah, so there's 2 reasons why you keep Jimmy at this point, right? He could pass physical. Yes, they could cut him today. It'd be totally fine. But you're trying to still hang on to this hope that there's trade value for him. Well, the most likely scenario that there's trade value is if a quarterback goes down in training camp or doesn't impress. I heard Mitchell Trubisky's first 2 passes today were interceptions. Maybe the Steelers come calling. I doubt it, but I'm just throwing it out there, right? So
I'm rooting for Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know why.
Yeah, I am too. Well, I mean, you you should be. Some of the things you said about Mitchell Trubisky. All right. So the way that I see it is that if somebody goes down with an injury, that's their only opportunity to really trade him. Okay. So that's going to happen with time. That's not going to happen right away. That could happen in preseason week 2 for all we know, if at all. So that's 1. 2 is, what if they have an injury? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if Trey goes down? They don't is Sudfeld the season option, right? So you've got that as an option for you. And then 3, kind of to your point, why? Like, why give him an opportunity to look even halfway decent with another team? Why?
Yeah,
You don't know him that
the whole month to learn the playbook and get acclimated to his new. Why? Especially when it could be Seattle. Because how many teams need a starter right now? Seattle. 1. Like maybe Atlanta, although maybe not. Yeah. So then again, let's come back to Seattle. I think they're tanking. I think there is a real chance that the Niners cut Jimmy and Seattle's like, do we want to win 2 games with Drew Lock or 6 with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Right.
2 with Drew Lock. Everyone thinks they're not tanking because they have the oldest head coach in the league, but I don't think he thinks he's stopping anytime soon. I think he thinks he's going to get the number 1 pick and get a hell of a quarterback next year. That's what I think. So
he's not on any sort of hot seat. I don't.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate slap in the face for Jimmy if he gets cut and everyone's like, yeah, here's $1 million. Be my backup. Would he just sit? Would he just retire at that point? Like, I'm taking a year off.
I really look at Jimmy as like not being that guy. I don't know why. Maybe my perception of him is wrong, but I feel like he doesn't want to go through that backup grind. I feel like he's the type of guy that's going to want a multi-year deal with bare minimum a chance to compete, but probably be given the keys to the job. Like, that's the way that I look at Jimmy. So I don't, we'll see.
Everyone always says like, oh, he's not perfect, but he's the 15th best quarterback. He's the 20th best quarterback. He's the 25th best quarterback. Every time I say that, I'm like, I'm like, no, he's a backup. He's a backup. He's a backup. He's going to be a backup again. And I think a lot of people feel that, he's going to have this triumphant second act and he's going to prove Kyle wrong. No, what's going to happen is it's going to crash and burn. And he's going to make Kyle look even better. It's going to look smart for moving on from him, but going to make him look better for getting all that he got out of him, essentially. I mean, he was Matt Castle. He was Tom Brady's backup. He won some games for a few years, but essentially was a backup punching above his weight. And wow, that happened. But Yeah, Kyle's going to get credit for that. And that whole his record without Jimmy's going to improve, I think.
Okay, so the question is push comes to shove, do you, after hearing, because I know that you've got a bottle of wine on this, right?
I'm going to lose that
After hearing the answer that Kyle Shanahan gave you, do you think they will outright cut Jimmy if push comes to shove?
Yeah, I think they will. It sounded like what he said was, Trey Lance could get hurt tomorrow. He could blow out his knee at home, in which case, hey, we got Jimmy. But barring something like that, we're not going to have a $27 million backup. Not going to happen. So, it's just a question of, do we cut him today or do we cut him 4 weeks from now? And I think Kyle would be petty about this. I wonder if there's someone in the organization saying we got to do right by Jimmy, but it's like, dude, he created the situation for himself. He did. And now he wants like leniency. No. So you can go sign with some team we're going to play this year? No, absolutely not. You come here, you throw, and then you go home. Where do you think he's at? Do you think he's at the DoubleTree, the Hilton? Where's he at? What's he doing?
He's staying at the Holiday Inn, Grant. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to do to him what the Patriots did to Cam Newton last year. Right at the very end, you're cut. Sorry.
Hey, bitter end, yeah.
Sorry. Hey, thanks for everything, though. Can we just say we really appreciate everything you've done?
Of course. And that's how they'll spin it to the media.
Yeah. Just the utmost respect for Jimmy Garoppolo, who is the best. What they're doing is like a big double bird salute on the way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. It's business. It's business. Yeah. You got to be cutthroat. And sorry, the 49ers don't owe him anything. They really don't. They've given him a lot of money. He's very wealthy. They don't owe him squat. So it is what it is.
I just want to say, though, that when they finally cut Jimmy Garoppolo, I will give them like a little golf clap for finally doing the right thing and not being insane and taking it any further. But when they cut him, I'm going to say you should have done this 4 months ago. And it's fair to point out that the only reason they waited 4 months is so they could avoid giving him that injury guarantee. And so I'm supposed to care about billionaires saving $7 million. I don't care. You should have done it for 4 months. You should have spent some money. Like, yeah, you would have had to give up $7.5 million in dead money, but you would have freed up $17 million you could have freaking used, and you chose not to, so that you could cut him at the very end. Not impressed, but I'll give you a little golf clap for finally doing it. At least you did it, because my opinion was so low of you. I actually thought you wouldn't do it. Not you, Jesse. I know you would.
No, yeah, I would have definitely done it. I'll say this. Again, I'm going to maintain the stance that they still have a chance to go all in, kind of a mid-season trade thing.
They do. That's a good point.
So I'll say that. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to eat an Italian sub live on air when Jimmy's cut.
Hey!
From Subway.
I heard a story from a source that Jimmy Garoppolo walked into a Starbucks in Santa Clara the other day. Mm-hmm. And no one knew who he was. He just walked in. Everyone left him alone. Maybe it's not true. The person that I heard this from clearly knew who he was, but now maybe if it was Subway, everyone would have been all over him. But at the Starbucks in Santa Clara, now it's fair to wonder if people in Santa Clara even know there's a team there. The Niners moved to Santa Clara. Did you know that?
Yeah, they're there.
Marie says he was talking about Danny Gray in college. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for explaining. We got 2 comments, one from you. Grant, you need to block a bunch of clowns in your feed. You're right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it so that you have to be a subscriber to comment. I think that's going to do something.
You know what? You know what I would do, Grant? You know what I would do?
What?
I would, for those that pay to be members, I would make them honorary chat police, basically, right? So because they're going to be here, and let them. I know that you have Josh, and Josh does a great job, but he's one guy. You need a channel your size. You need at least 10.
All right, I'm going to assemble an army. Kenneth says, Grant, do you think Jimmy has a backup career as an adult film star? People apparently love him. Jimmy's Subway sandwich is better than he is. He doesn't have to do that. He's got $100 million, man. He should
he's fine.
He should just play golf. The coach says once Jimmy got the surgery, he drew a line in the sand. He's on his own. Chop him down and trade him for parts. Nobody's above the business of football. Yeah, I think so. And I think kind of Jimmy and Don Yee I think the Niners feel they pulled a fast one. You didn't tell us. It's one thing to have the surgery, but the Niners said on the record, we didn't know. We had no idea this was going to
No
happen.
clue.
And they keep saying there was a deal. There was a deal. They must be so freaking pissed. Can you fathom if there was a deal on the table and it involved a day 2 pick? Can you imagine how angry they are, Jimmy? They're not going to do right by Jimmy. That was a fairy tale. They're looking for an Jimmy's going to request his release. And then what? Are you kidding? They're mad at him. You don't understand. I'm with you, coach. They're mad at him. He's mad at them.
They don't owe him anything.
Watch D Ford go to Seattle and prosper. I was thinking he's going to go back to Kansas City for nothing. Considering our style of offense, how good out of 10 does Trey really have to be in order to be a contender in the postseason? Jimmy Garoppolo was like a 4. It's a fair question.
I got an answer for this. So somebody threw out on Twitter the other day, they asked, what are your expectations for Trey? And I don't want to put any expectations on Trey from how many games they win standpoint, because I really don't think QB wins is a stat. Also, last year they were a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. I don't know what the team problems are going to be this year. We'll see as the season goes along how it plays out. It may have nothing to do with the quarterback and they don't win, right? But I will say this. My expectation is that Trey Lance is a top 15 quarterback. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I mean, the way that you talk about Trey Lance, that's a little light. But when I look at Trey Lance, first of all, I look at Jimmy at his best was a top 17 guy. And the difference between 17 and 14 is a big gap. And let me give you that gap real quick. The guys that I have at 11, 12, 13, and 14 in no particular order are Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Carr, and Cousins, who I think all of those guys are pretty damn good quarterbacks. If Trey Lance breaks into that tier, his first year, the league could be in big time trouble. That style of play or that level of play could be a problem in the playoffs for a lot of these teams. And then build on it and get better and break into the top 10 next year. Those are my expectations for Trey Lance.
Here's the way I look at it. I don't have much respect for Jimmy Garoppolo. Have I conveyed that on my channel in the last 2-3 years?
No. Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
If someone said he's the 33rd best quarterback in the world, I wouldn't argue. I think he's a backup. And the fact that Kyle Shanahan could consistently get his numbers top 15 in quarterback rating, QBR, like, okay, so you took a guy who's like maybe the 30th best quarterback and made him a top 15 statistically quarterback. You took a guy in Nick Mullins who's maybe top 75, maybe. And you had him looking like a legit starter for a minute. So now you actually have a quarterback who's talented. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but if Jimmy's the 30th best quarterback in the league, like even after 2 starts, Trey Lance should be at least 29, at least after 2 starts. So I feel like Kyle, once he figures out just the tendencies and what Trey does best and what he does worst, he's going to have really good numbers. Doesn't mean he'll be a top 10 quarterback, but he very well could be top 10 in QBR this year. If you go back and look at Colin Kaepernick, his rookie year in 2013, he had the whole year. He was 7 in QBR. Doesn't mean he was the 7th best quarterback, but him and that offense and defense didn't really know what to expect. He was a problem. Trey Lance could be a problem too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I think the stat, I'd have to double check on this one, but I'm pretty sure since 2006, Kyle Shanahan has put 3 quarterbacks in the top 10 in average yards per reception, which is going to incorporate obviously Yak, but he's had Mullins, Beathard, and Jimmy Garoppolo in the top 10 of that category since 2006. The top 10 quarterbacks since that time, he's had 3 of them, and 2 of them aren't even good enough to be in this league. One of them is a starter, but borderline at times, right? That's also how good Kyle Shanahan is.
Also, so Kyle Shanahan's best season ever was 2016, right? Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, that was record setting. One of the greatest offenses of all time. That year, Matt Ryan, MVP, averaged 13.3 yards per completion. League high.
Yep.
Trey Lance averaged 14.7 last year. All right. So there's a lot to be excited about there. I think we're going to see the most aggressive version. Because what was so cool about the Atlanta version of Kyle's offense was it was a down the field throwing. It was not a yak offense. I mean, it had some of that, but it was very aggressive down the field. Play action down the field. Matt Ryan looked very good doing that. I feel like we're actually going to – this offense is going to get back to that, what it was in Atlanta. Plus, it's going to be like a combination of Atlanta and Washington. The Jimmy G offense is very much gone, I think. Quick passing, no play action. Not my favorite.
Here's what's interesting. You just talked about a little bit of a hybrid. I think this team, with the quarterback they have at play and the players they have around them, really can kind of be a chameleon and unleash any style of play at any time. They can do the Washington thing. Mm-hmm. They can do the Falcon thing. They can do the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. They really can do it all. And if they can really find a way to navigate through the season and unleash little things at a time and then come to the playoffs and be like, good luck preparing for this. We can run 3 different game plans with Trey Lance because he can do everything that we are asking him to do and then some. That could be very, very scary. Very scary.
Nathan says, Cohn Army Unite. Great work, Grant. Jesse D Ford video with Jimmy had me dying. Don't die. Jacqueline Knox, thank you very much. I promise I'm going to give some more like perks for members. I'm going to work on that this year. I promise. We're going to do some members only stuff. I promise.
You're going to be mods too. You think to me you're going to be mods. You're very welcome.
Right, mods. Just coming in. Who in the hell is going to start at nickel? Today was Denard. So yeah, that's a fair question. They don't even like pretend to have a solution there unless you think Denard is that guy. Last question. Fable Films Production says, does it make sense at this point to trade Jimmy and pay for his contract for a draft pick? Similar to the Browns acquiring Brock Osweiler in 16. Yeah, I mean, how much? No. How much is a second round pick worth when you're just going to spend it on Aaron Banks? Sorry.
You're not going to get a second. They're not going to get a second round pick for Jimmy. There's no way.
No, what the Niners should do is they should cut Jimmy Garoppolo 4 months ago. That's my plan.
It's a good plan. I like it.
Hey, John, I missed your super chat. So why don't you write it right now in all caps? Like don't pay anything and I'll talk about it. Do it right now. And then
right now.
Over.
Oh, I think I found it. Missed you. Is SF cheap on O-line because of Lance's legs?
Pardon?
Is San Francisco being cheap on O-line? Okay, I'm trying to make sense of heads or tails. Is San Francisco being cheap on the offensive line because of Lance's legs? So basically, are they putting a lot on Lance and expecting because he's mobile?
They're being cheap on the offensive line because of Jimmy Garoppolo's contract.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I mean, they used to spend. They spent on Alex Mack. They spent on Tomlinson. I don't know. Yeah. I'm tripping.
Am I right, John? Was it a $2 super chat? It was way up there. I think I found it. I think that was it. That was from him at least. I don't know if he had multiple super chats, but I'll tell you what, if they're really relying on Lance and his legs to get that done in year 1 as a starter, boy, that's pretty disrespectful. You gave Jimmy the world and you're not going to give Trey Lance the world. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like it at all either. But that's the end of the show. This was fun. Jesse, thanks for doing this with me.
Hey, thank you for coming or having me on, man. I reached out to you, was like, hey, are we on? Like 6 o'clock we are. All right, let's do it.
Absolutely. Glad you were flexible. Glad you guys could watch. This is my favorite month of the year. I love training camp. I really enjoy it. I hope my passion comes through in my coverage. Thank you guys for watching me. I really, really appreciate it. All the donations, all the views today. Love you guys. Back at it tomorrow.